Good morning, everybody. Oh, that's not even morning. I think it's 12:43 and it is January 10th, 2026. It has been raining nonstop since yesterday around noon. So it's been raining pretty much t for the last 24 hours. So there's like, you know, we get a lot of rain or where we live. So that is a thing we live with. So this has been a really interesting thing I'm working on. So what I'm working on right now is if I hit this add viz, I get this animation, right? I have code that describes, I've kind of created something that describes exactly how an animation works. And we can actually, let me close this, we can look here, F12, and we can see what we have. And what we have here is this describes this entire animation. And we have 9 things that describe the things that I care about on this animation. And one of them is called an ST animation. And then ST stands for space and time, and it is a ST animation. And if you look in here, you can see that it's saying, hey, just keep doing this thing continuously. Uh, since its time is 0, since it goes forever, uh, it's just like that. In the future, I would like to have it to where you can say, oh, this animates for 3 seconds, this animates for 15 seconds or whatever. But and then we have a value of 0.5, and that's good. And it happened kind of like the way we'd expect it to happen. We hit the button, and now there's an animation. But oddly enough, when I change here, and we look back at this, we see that we have 2 animations. So when we created this animation, we ended up creating 2 animations. So, one thing that I've sort of recently learned is that what is amazing about the human brain and the things that we do is not the fact that we can absorb and understand information. That is pretty amazing. But what's really amazing is the information that we ignore. Like our brain knows what to ignore. So as I dig into this, there are a lot of different things going on. The vast majority of which we would just want to ignore, but there's more than one that we really want to pay attention to. And the first thing that maybe we need to validate or consider is the only time we should be creating an animation at this point is when we create an object. Um, so one way to think through this is like, when I push this button, do I create an animation? Is that button push what actually causes it to create an animation, or is it some other side effect? So that's the other thing to consider. So that's number 2. Is a side effect the thing that created it? Did it all just kind of work together just because through just kind of dumb luck, right? We were doing different things and then it just worked and then we just moved on with our lives. Or both, are both situations happening? Do we have some sort of like, yes, when I push this, I get a new animation, and then when I uh, change views, some side effect just created a new animation. Um, and so those are all questions. So as we sort of dug in, what we did find out is that there is actually sort of a anti-pattern that I have sort of worked myself into. And the anti-pattern, and I wasn't aware of this because I'm very new to signals. Signals haven't been around that long, relatively. They've been around for a couple of years now, but it's just like relative to all the rest of the things, it's not that long. Um, and certain mistakes that can happen in certain edge cases, I just don't have a lot of experience with that. So, and one of the things that I noticed yesterday is that as we change views, and we don't even need any visualizations. So like when we came in, we just like ran all these effects, and there's nothing to run. So that's one problem right off the bat. We should not be. I don't think we want to be running any effects on anything. And that might not be right, but I don't think we need to be running any effects on anything if there's no visualizations. again, that may not be true, but I think it's true. One thing I do know is true is we shouldn't be running any effects on any visualizations that are currently hidden. So that may or may not be true. I mean, that is true. I'm confident of that. I don't want to run like this is the visualization. No, this is the tabular layout. Like maybe we should run the effects because even though there's no visualizations in tabular view because we are in tabular view. Oh, and actually this isn't even tabular. This is custom. So this one definitely shouldn't be run. This one maybe not should be run. Update absolutely shouldn't be done. We're not updating anything. And then uh, we're back to custom again. It gets run again. And then tabular gets run again. And then update gets run again. So both of those got ran twice by literally just hit and refresh. So we know right off the top of our heads is that we don't want that running like that. So that's the first thing I'm going to go after. Now, I'm going to say that this process that I'm doing, unless you are a single developer working on your own project at an organization for somebody, like let's say you're building something and you're the only one that is working on it, like you're on a team, but you're the only one, or there's no team, it's just you. Unless that's the case, the way I'm going about doing this, where I'm just like, I'm supposedly working on preventing extra animations, but I've seen this issue and now I'm going to fix it, is really not the way you want to do these things because there's a very good chance that other developers are seeing the same problem. And if everyone just starts kind of doing their own fixes, it's probably going to have a bad outcome. And it's going to be very, very confusing and difficult. Um, so app tabular custom effect. So this is in custom. So this is not a tabular. This is in the custom layout component number 31. So I know when I'm here, I do not want to show this, and I know it shouldn't say tabular. So let's go to app custom component TS31. So Control P, custom dash. I thought it was component, but no, it's got to be a layout. Layout. Yeah, that's probably this guy. And line 31. Yep, that is it. Okay, so I'm going to close everything else because we do have like a lot of tabs open right now. So app custom effect. Let's get rid of the tabular. Wait. Yeah, let's get rid of it. This is for the custom. Now, at this point, I'm confident that this effect, none of these things should happen if we don't have if we're not in custom view. And it looks like we actually know that what the current view is. So let's go ahead and yeah, it's a layout type and it only has 4 options: custom, tabular, layout. And we know that blank, this empty one, is custom. So this one should only run any of this code, I believe, if we are in either layout type blank or custom. So now when I'm going to have to do this for all the components, and I don't know if that is I don't know, it could be um, another anti-pattern, another sort of thing that people do and it's a mistake, um, or not. Maybe it's just hard to tell. So I'm going to come in here and tab this out, tab it out, tab it out. It's weird. Okay. So that is line 43. So tab it. All right. And then if current view, and see, this is what's so nice about strongly typing things is that like it would have taken me a lot longer to go through and figure out, and it would have been a lot weirder if I didn't know what all the possible layout types were by just mousing over. And then the other major value is I can say if current view is equal to, I'm going to do this, custom, and then or current view is equal to. So those are the two possibles. Now there's depending on your situation, a lot of times it's a little easier for various reasons to sort of break out your if statements like this, where the different things are are um, on different lines. And the main reason for that is, for me, especially in an enterprise environment, is your likelihood of having like a Git conflict um, goes away. Yeah, I mean goes way down. So like if you need to change something on this line and somebody else needs to change something on that line, you have a much smaller. You can actually both change it and not have a conflict, which is pretty nice. Now, another kind of thing that I'm sort of violating that I do in this project is I generally try to avoid branches. So what I would typically rather do is call a function and um, and then pass in the current view um, as part of that function call. And that is probably something I will end up doing, but I will probably do that during the unit test phase of this effort. But let's just try this out, just kind of run through things. And I will say that I feel fairly confident working on these things and making these sorts of changes, mostly because I have end-to-end tests. And so I'll be able to run through all the different scenarios before I have to do like a full-blown commit. So as you see, we no longer see our custom layout. And so I believe we also have fewer animate visualizations calls, which I don't feel like, if I remember correctly, I don't even think, well, yeah, I don't know. I think animate visualization. I think I'm doing a side effect somewhere where I'm actually creating a visualization when I'm only supposed to be displaying the visualizations. Now, and I don't know, like it may actually fix these problems. Like when I get through and do this, like the bug may go away, but in this situation, it probably will behoove me to dig in deeper and make sure that it actually is working the way I want it to work, as opposed to just the bug going away. Sometimes you just want the bug to go away, and sometimes you want to make sure it works the way you want it to work. And it just takes years and years of experience before you kind of can recognize between the two. Um, and then what's going to be interesting to me is to see when I go to the custom view if it ends up adding another one. So I think we only had like 9 indexes before, and now we have 11. So it feels like we actually ended up adding something like totally different. Oh, okay. I think what happened was we deleted a component. Yeah, so the viz component, it's a different component. See, when we changed views, we changed from one. I don't know if this shows, see, this shows the current state, not the old state. I think if we'd had it open, it might stay. I'm curious about that. So let's go back to tabular view. Let's reload. Then let's clear this. Let's add a component. Okay, so we have 9 things and viz component is number 8. And we're just going to open this up. so that it's open. And now I'm going to change views. And this is more just for like basic understanding. And I can't even tell you how often. So it's just so strange to me because I feel like we had 9 up there and now we have 11. So we picked up something else, not just an animation. Um, but I will say that I constantly, so see before our viz component was number 8 and now it's number 11, which I think that makes sense. We do have 2 animations, but which that makes sense to me. I mean, it's not what we want, but it's a known observed screwed up thing. We have a visualization, a material, a geometry, a mesh, a scene, a camera, and a renderer. So I don't see doubles of anything. So I don't understand why we went from 9 to 11. Just do visualization. It's like we must have a duplicate of something here. Okay, so let's make this bigger. I can't even tell you though how many times I'll be working with people on technology that I don't know. Like it's just like I don't know this technology at all. And then I just start sort of breaking things down just like this. And then just be talking and we'll just be breaking things down and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, okay, I see the problem." And then they're gone and I never hear back from them again. So like it is a skill. Breaking things down so that you can kind of understand all the little parts of it is a skill that is extremely valuable, but it's extremely hidden. Like organizations don't recognize it as a valuable skill, but it does make your life as an individual human being better. So material 6, animation was 7, but right now, oh, and animation is still 7, which still makes sense, yeah. Visualization, ST visualization is 9, and it was then, but now we have a new ST, and then we have a viz component. But doesn't, oh, we had a viz component was 8 before. Oh, and we didn't recycle. Okay, that's why it's 11, because there's one missing. 8 is missing. So there is only 10. That's another thing that needs to be sort of tightened up is like we built out everything so that we can recycle um vision IDs and we are clearly not recycling right there. And it might just be, yeah, I don't know. But these are like kind of we didn't even like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, we didn't even have the ability to see this kind of thing. This kind of came along because when we went to go update, it was just like, I don't know what's going on. I need more information. And I think I need a table that kind of has all this stuff. And what would be nice about having a table, a view, an actual table that has this stuff is that then it would be pretty easy to build out like a Cypress script that actually makes sure that at this level everything is working properly because it could go to the table. It could do things, then go to the table and make sure that it's everything in the table is as expected. All right, so I feel like nothing bad happened. I guess we haven't tried update. So let's go ahead and go to update. Boom. Years ago, I remember, ooh, okay, that broke. Okay, so oddly enough, not running things when it's not a view is breaking this, but only when I've been to update. And this is very confusing. So really, so I can create one. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of this just so, because it is a bit of a distraction at this moment. I add one, change views. It's fine. Change views back. Oh, I feel like that was not an issue. Okay, so something is breaking at this point. Now let's go back over here. Did it? I wonder if, so my best guess at this point is that we have what happens if I add another one? Interesting. Um, my best guess is that we have some sort of race condition. A race condition is like when you're expecting you've coded probably inadvertently, maybe sometimes you do it on purpose, but it's that would be an anti-pattern if you do that on purpose. It's like you're like, oh well, this finishes before that one. That one takes a long time, and this is quick, so I can just go ahead and assume that the first like process A takes a tenth of a second. Process B takes a half of a second. So if I fire off process A, then process B, I can assume in process B that process A is done. That is a race condition. You do not want to do that. Because the problem is that like when you set up a race conditions are extremely difficult to document, and and so when you set up, and I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to formalize this. This is something I understand, but I have never really put in words. But you when you're coding race conditions, someone specific, this needs to be done. That gets done, and that called somewhere else. These are called back to back, and then first process. Okay, we need to add some logic bit. Um, yeah, you won't code while you're coding the fast process that you needed to get done faster because some other process is assuming that you're going to be done first. I think that is the crux of the problem. I used to see this early on when we first got when like uh, 2.0 HTTP requests behind the scenes started happening. Is you might have some process download a gig of information and you only need a tiny piece of that information. So you go, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to refactor this so that all I get is the ID, and then I ask for the pieces, and then suddenly all the first individual pieces start taking a lot longer to happen. The application is just in race conditions, and you can never, just never get it. So you got to pull it back to, okay, let's just download the gig information. But anyways, yeah, so something is breaking here. So our tabular layout is but not our create layout. And we are in custom right now. So custom didn't get called. So we would expect the custom layout to get called. So I'm going to do this. Okay, so we are in. Okay, I think I should. This where I'm at. It was in the effect. Yeah. I don't know. What's that? Check. We only run this if custom. So we're already, and we actually probably don't even need this branch. Oh, this is what sets. Okay, so a side effect of calling this get renderers. See, again, I think I was saying it yesterday, but the day before I said, if something says get, all it should do is get things. It shouldn't do other things. Um, so I'm calling. I'll get renderers. Oh, I'm calling get renderers right here. It never gets called, so then the renderers never get set to blank. So in the effect, we actually want to say if it's something else other than this or this, we want to set renders. Yeah, that was a horrible mistake. And basically we want to say, and that was, oh, okay, so that makes sense to me because I did that to try to not have a side effect. I mean, to try to not have a branch, um, so that I would be able to call this function without a branch. But now, when I went and changed this, and I really should have. This really probably should be. Yeah, this name is a terrible name. It's no longer a terrible name because literally all it does is return the st renderers now. So we don't need this branch anymore. And we're going to end up having to probably create another branch. I never know, like, if I should do this, like, okay, I'm setting the renders to nothing, and then, like, or should I just return this? I feel like I just don't know. I feel like the main benefit to doing it this way is it sort of lowers your cognitive load in the future when you work on this code. Like, if you're like, okay, I want to add some other functionality, you don't have to go through the whole process of um of of breaking all this stuff down and making sure that everything works. You're like you kind of set yourself up for success. I think your future self or your other developers, but it doesn't look good. Like, it looks better if you just say return and this. Okay, so we no longer need to send the current view because we are handling all of this logic here, which I don't like, which I'm gonna have to go back and figure something out because this doesn't, I don't think, make sense anymore. Like, I'm gonna end up going the exact, and I guess it makes sense maybe. Like, it's probably needs to be process renders for view, for current view, for custom view. It's probably what I need, another function that we call. And then basically, so, okay, so my initial, so yeah, my initial sort of, okay, this is the foundation that I'm trying to build on of, hey, we should not be doing any processing if we're not, the current view was wrong. We actually do need to do some processing. If it's not the current view, we need to wipe out this component's list of renderers. Now, I don't know if this fixes us because we definitely have a new bug that we created. Um, and it's like one of the sad things of software development is that a lot of times when you're trying to improve the code and set yourself up so that in the future you'll be able to build out more whatever you're trying to build out or figure out, you end up creating bugs. Okay, so this seems to have fixed it. Um, whatever we were doing, this so what's happened? Well, it didn't. The original bug is still there, but what's happening is that we are um, is that um, that it needs to run code. It needs to wipe out the code. It needs to wipe out the renders if it's not the view. That's it. So it knows that the view changed, um, and then and one of the things I did should be empty unless we are in custom view. Okay, so I think this comment goes here. And then I think the only thing that should trigger this is the current route. I think. Okay. This effect is triggered by the current route signal. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I feel like you should maybe have this at the top of every effect. Maybe it would be a good idea to have this at the top of every effect is like what triggers this, what signals trigger this effect. All right, so now we have two choices, right? I can continue and fix this issue. See, we are just going down one rabbit hole after another. So like, there's the issue of these things getting called and possibly creating these every time, or I could clean up the code in here and make this add another function. So I'm just going to clean up the code in here and add another function. And it's going to say get process renderers for view. And this is going to take a current view. And we literally might have literally just, like now that I'm thinking about it, maybe like all I needed to do was change the name of this function from get renderers to process renderers for current view. I think that is literally all I needed to do. Because I have a feeling what's going to happen is then I'm going to end up I'm just going to end up literally rewriting what this function used to be, except that it calls get renderers. I guess the big question is, does anybody use get renderers? Is this thing used anywhere? So I'm going back. Oh, well, we don't. Well, actually, I want to copy that. I want this in a second, but I'm gonna Control Z. I'm going all the way back to where we were at the beginning. In the beginning. Okay. I don't know why I got rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to. I think the first line should be what can cause the effect to go. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but that's what I'm going to try. And then this comment is a silly ass comment for there. I think it goes right here. And we are actually processing renderers. We are not getting the renderers. Process renderers for custom view. I can see why so this doesn't make sense, right? Because it's actually returning the actual renderers, but we are processing them. Is it process or? Yeah, I don't know. That word, we might end up revisiting that. Okay, so that's that, and I think that makes more sense. And we do know that we actually do need to do that. So we actually do need to do that every time. Regardless of what the view is, we need to do that. Now, okay, now we're getting to something. Did I not go all the way back though? It's weird because I didn't. Oh, that's right. I had moved this console log into there so I could see. So, okay, so now we know that. I don't know. I don't know what I've done here. Probably the easiest way to determine that would be to go look at the. I was just thinking about like one of the most impactful movies or TV shows is Mr. Robot for computer programmers, and he never does this. And he never kind of has to just hack around and try different things, or at least they never show that. They just show him like, okay, now I need to set this, okay, now I need to set that, and he just writes code. And maybe that is, I feel like that's kind of one of the things that kids just don't understand. So, all right, so is this is new. This is completely new. So before, maybe it's just that this animation visualization shouldn't get called. And so let's look at this. So this is a very interesting um, situation because basically we don't want to animate the visualizations if there are no visualizations, number one, and we don't want to animate the visualizations if we're not in custom. Now, oddly enough, a side effect of not being in custom is that we won't have any renderers. So in a weird way, we have this sort of situation where um, it's sort of side effect coding, right? We're like saying, well, we can infer that we're in the wrong thing if we don't have any renderers, but it doesn't even matter, right? Like if you don't have any renderers, you don't want to do anything. So I guess that simplifies it, and it's just a weird side effect. And is it a and I guess you have to think to yourself, is it valuable? Is it useful at all to know that, by the way, we also aren't running this if there are no renderers? Like, am I overthinking it? Probably. So, but we don't really want this here. So I guess what we want to do is say animate renders for custom view. And we're going to pass in the current view. And the main reason that I ever went down uh, this this path is because of sort of breaking things out like this is for just to make unit tests easier to write. That is literally it. Okay, so now we just want to move all of this out. I need to figure out where the bottom of this thing is. And we don't actually even care about that. We just want to know this dot renderers. So and I'm always very tempted just to call them renderers, but I need to call them ST renderers. And again, the main reason for that is not for now. Like for now, it's easy. It's very clear that if this is here, these are the ST renderers. Like what else would they be? But um, if um, but if you um, but when I'm coding in real time, and if this function gets bigger and all that, like I need to, I'm sure they'll be like, am I dealing with a ThreeJS renderer or an ST renderer? At that point in time, it'll just be easier for me to understand what's going on. Animated equals false. Turn animated. And then we're going to say if animated. If length is greater than 0. And so we're pretty safe from here. Like if you're working in pure JavaScript, um, this is a bit of a dangerous call because you don't necessarily know that it's going to be a renderer object. So like this would throw a line of a renderer array. So this would throw a error. But since and break your code. But since we're doing TypeScript, if we do manage to, it won't let us call this function without something, even if it's an empty renderer. So we're saying, hey, if we have any renderers, then animate the visualizations and do this. Now I'm thinking that this animate visualizations thing might actually be creating visualizations, which is was a terrible decision on my part. Terrible, just terrible. Um, Now, honestly, if you like in every video, I probably make 100 decisions, right? Like it's just the nature of um, software development. Maybe that's why we like software development so much. It's because we get to make lots of decisions. Making decisions is fun, right? It is, as long as, especially if you don't really have a lot of consequences for bad decisions. Um, but like, how do you get good at making decisions if you don't? Okay. So this isn't technically a pure function because it does use this in here, like it can't do everything itself. Um, but and pure functions are just so much easier to unit test. Okay, so now I'm just going to call in here. And so we've cleaned this up. And I think I have a better understanding of what's going on. I hope I do. It is very possible that I don't. But let's see. And then what we want to do is we want to go here and go back. Okay. And as you see, it's still getting faster every time as we pop back and forth. So at this point, it probably makes sense to go in and at least we know one bug. And one bug is that as we go back and forth between these update visualizations, we're adding, and it's probably happening in this thing right here. It could be this update visualization count, and it's in the animation. So one of these two might be doing it. Uh, and if I remember correctly, we did figure out that we need this, but maybe not. Um, but I guess just for fun, let's just move this out. And we are in custom, so that's where we're supposed to be. Add. Okay, so we have a nice slow animation. We go here, and now we go back. Yeah, and it's still going faster. Everything seems to work. I'm gonna comment that out. I feel like we commented this out, and then like in the heat of the battle, we figured out that we do in fact need this, and then we but I didn't put a good comment in there. So uh I'm gonna stay as is right now. I'm just curious if we comment this out, what happens? There's no way. I don't think that needs to stay commented out. I think we definitely needed to do something, but maybe not. So let's start at tabular, reload, add a viz. So it's moving nice and slow. Go back to here. Okay, it's going faster still, so that didn't fix the issue. And I don't even know what that was for. All right, so let's just take a peek at what in the world this thing was doing. Set up DOM visualizations. To array is like set up visualizations. Calls this one, set up this components. Upsert visualization for component. Yeah, that is weird that we don't need that. That just feels like it's important. All right, well, for the moment, we're going to comment that out. I kind of would love to. Yeah, let's, you know what? I know it's like time consuming, but I actually want to run the, how do I add? There we go. I don't know why I only have one terminal. So npm run Cypress open. I just want to see, like, it's weird that that didn't break anything. Um, like that seems like a lot of work. Oh, I definitely want to do this. Sure did seem like a lot of work to do that. But if I don't need this code, I don't want it because it is not pleasant code. That is wild. And like, yeah, you probably like if you work in it, like most places, you just don't have the luxury that I have right now, where you can just sort of take a deep look at every little thing and really understand every little thing, which is bizarre because I'm pretty sure that the executives wherever you work think that you are taking a deep look and figuring everything out, but you don't have time. And you probably don't have time. Wherever you work, you probably don't have time. Um, and And the thing is like sometimes like you can move really, really fast if you're really, really familiar with the code and all that. Like my boss gave me a task and he was just like, "Hey man, and if you can get a PR in by Monday, I'll, by Sunday night, I'll be very happy." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh, I can have a PR in an hour." And it was only because I had been focused, hyper focused on that code for a week, for 3 days, 3 or 4 days. I'd been hyper focused so I could just knock out what we needed done. But like normally I can't knock out things like that. We just had lined the whole ship, everything was lined up for me to be able to do that. So what I'm hoping is that none of these end-to-end tests fail. And if that is the case, then I don't need this code. And let me tell you what, deleting important code like that is never that easy unless you have end-to-end tests that are good. Good, like good's not the right word. That are that have really good coverage. It does make me sad though that like this is taking so long because like literally there's not a probably a 2 hour span that goes by that goes, oh, I would love to build a animation that does this or does that. Like what would be so cool is like if you could have like spheres or something, little spheres that all bind together into a letter, right? And then you could have like some sort of Perlin noise or something to break out up into a big sphere. So all the little spheres become a big sphere, and then they collapse back down. And you could tell it what letter to go from to, so that you could have this animated animation effects of these letters coming through. That would be really cool. Which then would probably be very useful to people who are like who do drones and stuff because they could be like, okay, let's find a cool thing, and then you could actually have the drones do the exact same things that all these little spheres do. Um, Now you would have to kind of build in like a collision detection thing and stuff like that, but I would imagine collision detection and not having a collision is probably one of the most important things. Ooh. Okay, so it did seem to break this keyboard stuff. Spacing? Is spacings. Oh, it seemed like it can't make two visualizations if I don't have that. We need to be in custom view probably. Yeah, see, it doesn't move it. So we probably have all the visualizations, but like if we go to this view, we'll see, yeah, we have the three visualizations, but we don't have that. So yeah, this whole thing broken, and that's why we need the timeout. So now we can try this and say, do we need this? And again, that is the power. Like we've literally just seen the power of the end-to-end tests, like Cypress and all that. Like that, it'd be like, why do I even need this? And now we know exactly why we need it. Okay, so let's look at the spacing one again. I thought this thing would rerun whenever we. Okay, so that fixed that issue. So let's start all over at the beginning. Make sure nothing broke. Now, you do really have to think hard about, like, if you're making decisions for an organization, do you actually have the time and money to have all of these pieces in place? I mean, that's really the question because we have not accomplished a whole lot in a year, in over a year. Um, but man, like that was a crazy S. Like his code is like, what is this code doing? Why do I need it? I guess I should put a comment in there. Um, because, it's like it was a lot of time. It was like 10 minutes to freaking go in here and figure out why I need that line of code. So let's go ahead and do that because I don't want next time, like in 2 weeks, I don't want to be like, okay, now why do I need this line of code? Okay, so um, required to place more than one visualization on the page. Place by location. Okay, this does not appear to be required. Renting all E2E tests of code commented out. Right, so that is good to know. And then I guess we're back to the original thing though, is um okay, I'm curious for a single one, even though it breaks it because we'd still know. Okay, so let me close this. We're done with uh, Cypress. Let me add this. Now let's go to this view here. Tabular, we'll add this. And we still know that even at this point, that when we come back to this view, we have an extra we have a extra animation, right? We have two animations now. Just double check that. Okay, so we know that. Now we know that we need this line of code or it'll break. Oop, go back. We know we need back. We know this. We need this line of code or it won't work. But I'm curious if the problem goes away without this line of code. So let's go back to this view. Boom. And back to here. Yeah, we still have the problem. So we have sort of isolated, we have validated that that code is fine. Now, what about this guy? Again, I'm confident I should have left the end-to-end up. Think, I just don't know. Let's see, we want to close this. HP Media Network. Okay, that's weird. I'm sure that means something that I'm not happy about. Let's go back to here, add viz, and then change back to this view. I feel like it didn't add one. Did not add one when we removed. And it doesn't seem like, did it not break it? Oh, why does it? Oh, okay. It's in the same place. It's in the same file. It's just not. I keep clicking down here and it keeps scrolling down. All right. So I commented this out and nothing seems to be broken, which is a little weird. So let's. Damn it, Marty. Damn it. Why did I do that? Okay. So let's see what breaks when we have that commented out. This is new for me. All right. This is the very first project that I've ever had Cypress on. I have implemented some Cypress stuff at work, and it has saved our butts several times now. I wouldn't say saved our butts. I guess I'm being a little dramatic, but there have been times where I found a bug in production before anybody else, before our end users noticed it, because we have a massive website, and like the end users never noticed that it was broken, or if they did notice it, they didn't communicate it to us. But um, there's been a lot of times where we had to tell them that our stuff was like, oh, it's broken. There was some. I don't think it's ever been our fault, like anything that we did. It was just like some environmental change happened, and or it could be even them, like our users. They make changes, and sometimes they'll inadvertently break things. Our users are quite empowered, so they can do a lot of things that, like, in most environments, users can't do. Um, but they are the bosses. I mean, they are. There's no question they're the bosses. It's my favorite thing about my current job is that, like, it is um like it's very clear, the pecking orders, all the who's in charge, who's not in charge, all that stuff is extremely clear, which is just a really nice thing. Okay, yeah, so that broke. Resize broke. Oh, that was weird. And it's weird that it's still running, even though it broke. So it can create all these things. It can change things. But it didn't. Okay, so it didn't um, draw them. And I don't know why, but um, it's probably not worth digging into because it did seem like this is probably something but it kind of seems like, um, I guess we want to double check that this is no longer broken. And I'm not shutting down Cypress this time. Oh, it looks like it's going to be broken still, though. That's not good. It was not broken a second ago, or maybe it was, because it's weird. Usually, like, this thing hangs and stops when top of 200. But see, it continued on. But I guess the test failed in a couple places, or I don't know. But all right, this is a bit weird. Okay, so I don't know. Did we? I feel like maybe. Okay, let's go back to this guy. Maybe it did break this one, and we just didn't notice it. Maybe I was talking. It's interesting though that this. Yeah, I don't know exactly what's happening here. Let's run this one resize. So I might add like a false, like I thought I had changed tested it, the code, but maybe I didn't change it. I'm not sure. Okay, so that one's passing now when I put this back in. I'm going to comment this one out. I'm going to see if it automatically, yeah, so it automatically reruns, but it reruns in a very strange way. Like it reloaded the page, but didn't rerun the test. Which I don't feel like was the behavior before. Oh, so it looks like it was necessary. And I just didn't know. I bet you I just clicked through. Let's see. Let's do this thing they call time travel. So it's when it was here in custom view that it was expecting to find extra things and it did not find them. So it looks like that comment was wrong. Okay. So we know resize fails. Okay. Okay, so this comment needs to go away. Be gone. Okay, resize. E-to-E-T. And this is another good example of like something that's just very new to me. So I don't know if this is a good idea to put that. Um, okay. So I think we did figure out though that like whatever's causing the extra, if I remember correctly, whatever's causing the extra animation to happen is happening right there. Okay, for each. And so we see that happening here. And then, okay, so looks like we add it. This is where we add it. So this is kind of where we were the other day. We create an animate, we take our mesh and we add our, okay, so animate visualization seems to be a terrible name for this, I think. And the problem is that like, okay, so and I think all this does, like it looks like all this does is add an animation. It doesn't look like it does anything other than that. Right? It just, so that I don't, yeah. So animate mesh, it's like add animation to mesh. And do I think this is going to fix it? I don't know. No, this will not fix it. All I'm doing is literally all I'm doing is making it everything a bit more explicit. So, all right. So now it looks like that's the only place that that was happening. And I'm wondering if I'm going to end up just running Cypress end-to-end tests, like have it always running. It seems like it might be worth it to always have it running. But okay, so this adds animation to, and like literally that's all this does. Animate visualization, add animation to reps for each. So this basically does the exact same thing. It's just add animation to mesh. And I guess the reality of this is this would be more like add animation to visualizations, and then in the future there'll be additional logic to determine where like the probably be like an add animation to meshes or something like that. So I'm going to call I'm guessing this is a guess, but I think it's going to be add animation to visualization, because that is literally all this is doing is adding an animation to the visualization. So really all we're doing, again, this isn't going to fix anything. All this is doing is it makes everything a bit more explicit so we can kind of understand what's going on. Our words, there was nothing really wrong with the names that we had before. It's just they weren't explicit enough. So it's kind of like one of those things like maybe when you first start working with somebody, you guys only have like one wrench in your toolbox, and then so you like give me the wrench. But then next thing you know you have like 10 wrenches and get me the wrench doesn't work anymore. I think that is sort of what we just experienced. Okay. Now, I just wanted to make sure that everything worked. Uh, you know, yeah, who knows if I guess that's probably one of the major benefits to naming something like private, right? Like if I think I could say, and then that means that I don't have to worry that I broke something outside of this thing. I think that's a good idea. One of my like I work with some really bright people, and one of them he loves to name everything private, and I've never thought that was a great idea, and now I'm starting to, and then so I worked with this code, and then it was just so nice knowing that, oh, okay, this is only in this function or in this class. Like, see, nothing broke by naming that private. And then, like, I need to think outside, I need to think carefully if I decide to make it not private. I like that. But if I remember correctly, it is very difficult to unit test private. That's right. Yeah, this is probably going to have, yeah, I think that's the main disadvantage is, let's just see what happens. Maybe, I'm going to get rid of the private. Because I have invested a lot of effort into unit tests on this, so I don't want to break them. Um, okay, so now this is add animation to visualization, and so this is animate visualization. So this just goes through. So this is add animations to visualizations. And I'm pretty sure this is the what we're calling from outside, but maybe not. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, so I'm naming this add and because literally all this is doing is adding animations to a visualization. And I don't feel like that needs to be happening in the component, or at least at this level of the component. Yeah, it just does not feel like we should be adding. This does not appear to be I don't think this is the place we should be adding animations to visualizations. Those probably need to be happening when you hit the button. Literally, all this is doing is adding the animations to the visualization. Yeah, I think. I don't know. Okay, so we are good again. All right, so now, so okay, so those were, so I thought that this would break on something that, so I don't think this should be done here. Um, okay, so adding animations to the visualizations should probably happen when the visualization is created. Because the thing is yeah. So this is just like a default. Let's see. Add animations. Oh, what I should do is hit back. This is where we're adding animations. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. Like when the layout effect is run to add animate. That doesn't seem like the right time to add animations. Animations probably, well, first of all, I guess it makes sense to kind of create like when you create a visualization to kind of have a default stuff in there because it's a little easier to understand. But oh my gosh, I think that just happens in two places. It might happen in update too. I don't think so though. So let's do this again. Add animation to visualizations. I'm just going to add an extra S here. And basically, all I'm doing is trying to use the transpiler to, yeah. So that's, yeah. It's just in two places. It's just in um, the tabular and the other one. So I wonder. So if that is true, then theoretically, when we go to, if we go back and forth, when we go to update, we shouldn't see a new. Okay, so we have our animation. It's at 7, and now, okay, I'm going to reload. Okay, we have our animation. It's at 7. Now, when we go to update, do we just have only one animation? I think we only have one animation. Yeah, we still only have one animation. So basically, the two places that we're adding animations is in the components, the layout components, and we really don't want to do it there. It would be better, make more sense, and wouldn't have this weird effect if we did it when you hit the button. So I don't think we are doing it when you hit the button. We're doing it when the visualization gets created. So really, what I'm hoping is that we can just get rid of this line of code altogether and have that wherever the add button happens. So now we got to figure out where the add button happens. And I want to do that more from I want to think on more of an architectural level. So it's in our menu, and I thought we had two menus. Yeah, we have layout menu and app menu. So I think app menu is the one that has the add. Yep. So, and then it's add click viz handler. Go to definition. So we have this add visualization function, which I think makes a lot of sense. And that's in this, in here. So go to definition, go to implementation, and we have this add renderer. So as part of add rendering, so I think it does make sense. Go to definition, at least at this point, go to implementation. Here is where we get a base renderer. So it kind of feels like so this is weird because it kind of violates one of my tenant rules of getters shouldn't be creating things. But when you get a base renderer, it actually is creating a renderer. So let's go ahead and go into get base renderer. Go to definition. So base renderer, I think the one I care about is when it gets a camera, gets a scene, it gets a create animation function, set animation function for STID. So I think this is interesting because we kind of have two. I've never thought about this before. Like I'm just sort of spitballing here, but we actually have two animation concepts. We have the animation concept is where we define what an animation looks like, and then we also have an animation concept of the code that actually executes animation. So this is the code that executes animation, and then I guess what maybe when we create a base scene, we create a base scene, we must create at that point. Go to implementation, and then we get a mesh by ID. We create a base mesh. I feel like this is where it should happen, right? Like this. Now the problem is, oh, okay, so this is where it should happen, I think. The problem is that it doesn't know anything about the visualization yet. So, okay, so I think this is where we should create console.log. So I think when I was building out the animations, I was in the mindset of visualizations. Visualizations are a Angular thing, right? It's a browser Angular thing, not an ST visualizations thing, not an ST objects thing. So I think this is where we want to. So I think this is the one I like. Thinking face for this spot. I'm trying to come up with different, like my own little scheme for. I think this is where an animation, a default animation should be created. Now we probably still want to use that service and all that, and we probably won't want to pass in the visualization. We'll probably want to pass in this actual mesh, like this ST mesh. And I think there's already a function that can take an ST mesh and add. I think all it wants though is a modulus of 1 to 4 or something like that. But we'll do this and F12. Go to this view, clear. So I think I do the think thing. Okay, so that's good. And now we want to add one. I think this is where I want, but this is where we're doing it in our animation service on line 189. And we actually do add an animation to a mesh. All this thing needs, but see, it wants the whole renderer, 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 right? Like, yeah, so that was kind of bizarre. Yeah, so this, I think this should be named add animation to mesh for renderer. But we will probably want another function very similar to this called add animation to mesh that accepts a mesh and adds a mesh, uh, an animation, and like this modulus thing. So now, like a lot of times, I have to work with other people that, and a lot of times this would be the moment where they'd be like, "Oh, okay, I get it," and then never, and then they're off to the races. For renderer, hit save. For renderer. Okay, so this is add animation to visualization, which doesn't make a damn bit of sense because that is actually, we're not adding it to a visualization, we're adding it to a renderer, which is literally something we just did a couple minutes ago. And now it's so often, so off, obviously wrong. Renderer. And this is like kind of one of those things like where you just don't freaking get it until you get it. Like it's so obvious when you see it, but then like, but when we were coding it the first time around, it wasn't. And now it's just like, how did you not know? Because we are literally passing in renderers. How did you not know that this is to a renderer, not a visualization? And I have a problem. I have a problem. I should not say renderer. Okay, let's fix it. I should say ST renderer. And then for ST renderer, for ST renderer, to an ST renderer, because the reason it's important to me to say ST is because there is a ThreeJS renderer. And when I'm coding in this on the future, I'm definitely going to be in situations where that's very confusing. ST renderers. And I called it renderer when I'm actually passing in renderers. Am I passing in renderers? Okay, yeah, it's renderers. Render. This is the broken one, right? Here. ST renderers. And then we got one more broken thing. So I didn't bring Rhett in today. She's a little disappointed, but I haven't been able to take the dogs on a walk for a day, and they get a little bit um, dicey actually. And then I couldn't take them this morning because I forgot to charge my phone last night, and it's probably not very responsible to take the dogs out without having a way to like be able to call for help or something like that if something happens. All right, so add viz, then and then boom. Okay, so that's all working. And so now I'm just going to st. Okay, so we want to basically mimic this exact thing, but we want to do it for a mesh, for an ST mesh. Again, this is some big ass ugly code that is just like stuff just so that we would have a place sort of set aside. And I don't even know if we're going to want this add animation for ST renderers in the future, but ST mesh, then ST mesh, and then this is ST mesh, and then these guys can just go away, go away. And we're going to call this ST mesh. And then we don't want this. We don't need to get it by the ID because we have it. And then this should just take that mesh and add it to it. So that should work. All right, so I misspelled that, mesh. So now we're going to add animation for ST mesh. And then that needs to be in the add. And I think it was in our menu and then components, app menu, and it was in this add visualization. Yeah, that was here. This is where we add the renderer. Oh, that's right. And we'll go to the definition, go to implementation. I think those are the same thing in this. We're going to get our base renderer, go to implementation. We are going to get our base scene, create a base scene, go to definition. We are going to create a mesh, a base mesh. I think this is the same thing, right? Yeah, go to definition, go to implementation. And then this is where we want to do it. And I don't think, do we have the animation service? No, we do not have the animation service. So this is where we want to be. And we know that I don't remember where. So we're just going to do this. I don't remember architecturally where that lives. So this is ST. Because I have an extra space in there? Yeah. So this is in animation service. So I think we can just inject animation service into this. So it's probably private ST animation. I think we just call this animation service. There is no um, like ThreeJS equivalent. Unlike like camera, there's a ThreeJS camera and an ST camera. Um, there is no 3GS doesn't really have the concept of animation in it. I don't know, that probably is up for argument, but in my mind it doesn't. Okay, so we have our animation service. That is so much better than the way that it works in older versions of Angular, where you have to put it in the constructor. And this guy wants a mesh, which is my ST mesh. Uh-oh. Oh, it wants our modulus too. And then let's see. It could be a 1 through a 4. Let's see. Oh yeah, that gets a little weird. So we're just going to have a random number from 1 to 4. So I will always, every time a random um, number comes into my head, I always think that I honestly, this is the truth. One of the very, very, very best moments of my whole life was when me and my little brother discovered the random number generator in basic language, and we could suddenly make our games randomly change which monster attacks you and stuff like that. Such a great time. Um, I don't remember off the top of my head how to do that. ChatGPT. And I would imagine, okay, I would like a random number to get a random number from 0 to 3 in JS. Let's see. There we go. On call. On call. Copy code. Boom. Man, I'll tell you, the like it is crazy how much more capable, like and faster I am with a LLM. Um, it is really, really just absolutely mind-boggling. I don't know what's taking so long. Hmm. Looks like we may have some sort of dependency circular. Oh gosh, that sucks. Animation service. So we cannot bring animation service into this because it says it has a circular dependency. Okay, so let's try to read this. Circular dependency for animation source, standalone, path, animation service, scene service. Oh, okay. Does is it saying that the animation service has a mesh service in it? Is that what it's saying? Go to definition, go to implementation. So it's saying, so what do we inject over here? So it does have oh, it has a 3 mesh service though. Oh, it has the ST mesh. Why does it need the ST mesh service? I'm curious. So this is probably the first time I've ever seen that and been like in it. Okay, so the mesh service knows how to get a mesh by ID, which makes sense to me. But then for some reason, that means that I can't use the animation service. Is that the only thing we use it for? This definitely feels like a growing moment for me, though. Okay, so search for this line of code. I feel like this is maybe the very first time I've ever even had a chance. Okay, so all it does is the mesh service provides the option of to get a mesh by ID, but it also has other functionality into it in that it also knows how to create. It literally only knows how to do two things. It can create a base mesh and it can get a mesh by an ID. That's it. but I would like to also be able to animate it, and I need the animation service to do that. And my animation service also, my animation service needs to know how to be able to get a mesh by ID, and my mesh service wants to be able to animate things. And so, all right, I'm just going to do this new chat. All right, so I have one service. Well, I have two services. Two services. Um, they they have a dictionary. They each have a dictionary. Dictionary. They each know how to get know know how to get objects by dictionary by ID. They each also have functionality. For their object type. And they each need a reference to each other. I think I may have just stumbled onto a serious anti-pattern that I have seen almost everywhere I've ever worked and has caused this problem. And we've all been like, I don't know what's going on, because the code that we're working on is so much more complex than this. Reference to each other. And that is causing a circular reference. This is Angular 21 project. I think it's 21. This is a classic Angular service circular dependency problem. Your description is very clean. You've already isolated the root cause. Two services, each owns a dictionary cache, each can fetch objects by ID, each has domain-specific behavior, each needs the other circular reference. In Angular 21 and any DI system, this means the design needs a seam. 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 I've never heard that one. Seam. What the F is a seam? Not a DI trick. Below are patterns that actually work in order to how to architecturally create. The best practice, split the data access from the behavior. Okay, all right. See, I thought I was so clever putting them together. Damn it, this is freaking ridiculous. This is bad. This is bad for me. It's good for me in that I've just learned something huge. This is bad for me because it's going to be a tremendous amount of work. I did a tremendous amount of work to get this way. Shit, fuck. Step 2, yeah, okay, I got it. Very common Angular facade. If your service are fairly large, introduce a facade that depends on both. Oh, ooh, I think I might like this one. A does not inject B service. B does not inject A service. Components at higher level services. Escape hatch. Works but smells. I feel like this would probably go away in the future. This is probably a way to screw yourself in the future. Ref. Okay, so I think, I don't know. I'm hoping the facade is going to work for me. I definitely want to put more thought into that. This is definitely feels the right thing. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's almost like you should have two different. I guess they're saying you should have two different thing, that two different things. Can one that can get an ID, and then one that can get that is just all about the dictionary and gets it, and then the one is the behavior. And so if that was the case, I feel like I still have the problem though, right? Because the animation service is going to need the diction. Isn't that the same? Isn't that just going to be the same problem? Like, okay, so if I have basically, I'm going to take this service and turn it into two services, right? This animation service is going to be two services. One that can get an animation by ID and has the dictionary, and then one that can get the one that knows how to do stuff, animation type stuff. And then on the other side, the mesh service will need, yeah, I don't think that's going to solve the problem. Splitting it out makes sense, but I don't think it actually will solve, because I think I'll still need, the problem is I need over in animation, I need the IDs and the, I guess animation doesn't need any behavior. It just needs to know how to get the IDs to get a mesh for the ID, but it doesn't really need to be able to do stuff to meshes, mesh stuff to meshes. And I guess animation and mesh doesn't, it just, well, all, it just needs to be able to call it and say, hey, I have a mesh. Can you please animate it? And maybe the better way to do this is, instead of doing like a massive refactor, is just as I go. Okay, so let's kind of take a step back here. Animation service, add, see this is, okay, so this is the function I want to do, and all it really knows how to do is take this number, and if this number is this, it creates one of these. So so this is, I'm so into this because I've run into this problem so many times, and we kind of just like flail around writing code in a million different directions, and then get it to work, and then just say, oh God, thank God that works. And this is my first option to actually where it's in my, I can actually like mentally do this. See, all this does is that it doesn't need any of the behaviors from the mesh service. And see, we're so tiny right now. So this creates a mesh ID. And I just want to say, hey, can you please add the animation to this mesh? And it's saying no, because you're trying to include animation service, and animation service is included by this one, and it's included by, and I'm animation service is including mesh service, and mesh service is concluding animation service, and they just won't let you do that. Um, and so because of that, I want this animation behavior, and because I want the animation behavior, like all I want is the animation behavior. I don't actually want, okay, so is it, I feel like this is a problem because it's a shared. So it seems like this might be a problem because these are shared singletons. Yes, the fact that they are shared signals is the reason the circular blows up, not just an isolated incidental detail. That into it and show what action items. Why a single server? Okay, so okay. Um, Now could I inject it not as a singleton, a non-singleton? Could I get a non-singleton version of the class? We can use just for the behavior. But a valid, clean solution if you're describing it exactly in the right way. Can I separate the stateless behavior? That's exactly what I'm asking. Can I separate the stateless behavior from the singleton state so I can avoid a circular? And yes, Angular is one of the most, this is one of the most underused but effective patterns. The pattern singleton store plus plain behavior class. You keep the singleton service for state lookup. Plain classes not injected for behavior. This is completely sidesteps. Okay. Oh, okay. Ew, ew. So I think yeah. So what I can do is just create a class, const a store get by ID. So this, okay, I would imagine, I think what this is saying, and I can't quite, I want to think through it all through the night, but I think what I'm saying is what not to do behavior, injectable. You, okay, so the naming is going to be so incredibly of the variables is going to be so incredibly important in this specific situation because the you're going to have okay, actually, so this is a singleton that is shared by everybody out throughout the application, but I could also, I believe, create like private animation service colon, I don't know if I can do this, I think I can, equals new animation service. Um, what is it? Um, or maybe I don't even need the new, but it's like utterance plain or stateless. And so, and then we don't do this one. And so since we didn't use the inject, we can still use, I think we can still use the behavior, which the behavior literally just takes just decorates what you pass it in, what you pass into it. I think that's going to work. Maybe not. Let's see, F12, reload. So let me just comment this out, just make sure that is, in fact, it's still not working. And now, I think it was saying, hang on 1 second. That you, Kiwi? Kiwi, Kiwi, Melissa, Kiwi's right outside the front door. She's out there crying. I'm sorry, I'm our cat. It's been raining, and our cat, one of our cats, is outside meowing to come in. Um, and sometimes our dogs are kind of bullies and won't let her come into the house. They have one little doggy door that they come through. But this is such an important thing to me. But we have one cat that's extraordinarily vocal. All right, so okay, I think it's broken again. Yeah. So I think it was showing that I don't even need to do that. Like it'll. So like this. Let me ask ChatGPT. So stateless object. This. I thought there was like in the injector of it, you could like in here. Just don't actually step on it. Even you. Okay, private. Oh, okay. If you ever see add injectable provider, then you should not manually set new. Really is plain behavior hours, so rename it accordingly. Export class animation. Then wait, export animation behavior. I'm getting confused here. Export class animation behavior. Okay. Angular DI graph never sees. Okay, so I think, okay, I'm confused. Okay, I guess it's always over. Okay, so like, create, create an a DI object that that is a singleton. Singleton. But want to. I guess maybe what I want to do is kind of break it into a utility class. Okay. And yeah, so I want to break it out. I guess, let's see. Maybe what I'm thinking, I probably need to just break off for now, but I probably need to have this st mesh, and then I need like mesh utilities. st mesh utilities, and then like st mesh utilities is where all of the like just basic code goes. Stuff that is just like not shared. Or not shared isn't the right word. I guess there's two kinds of sharing here. There's like kind of the sharing where like we're both kind of looking at the exact same thing, and then there's the kind of sharing where there's like we both have the same place to go look. So like one of them would be like, oh, okay, we have a pot, and inside the pot I have 5 potatoes, and if I eat one of the potatoes, now there's only 4 potatoes for everybody. The other one is like the instruction manual next to the pot that describes how to peel a potato. Okay, so it seems like two kinds of sharing. Sharing. One is like a shared consumable. So have 4 potatoes, but they're, and I eat one, so now we have 3 potatoes. But there is also the concept that we have a book that tells how to cut potatoes. So I can look at the book, and anyone else can too. And yes, you've identified the two fundamentally different kinds of sharing that tend to get mixed up in Angular services and cause this exact problem you're seeing. Let's unlock the analogy. The two kinds of sharing: shared consumable, stateful object. We have 4 potatoes, now there are 3. Characters, quantities change, orders matter, order and timing matter when consumer affects all others. In Angular, singleton service stores, caches, dictionaries, signal stores, and grx. This must be shared knowledge, stateless. The book explains how to cut it. So let's look. This is export injectable. So it looks like, okay, and I think I've just grown massively as a developer. It looks like I need to create another thing that has this, and this is what I was trying to say before, is I could have this, I can create like this class like that, but there's no decorator. There's no injectable decorator. And then anything that's just like how to do things, and I could take this and do that, should go into this class like this. It thinks it better, but I'd rather have this. Um, and then all that. And I guess instead of doing like a massive refactor of everything, I could just create them as I need them, and then move stuff if it's that. So that means that, because honestly, I don't think, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's a good thing. So strategy resolver, calculator, policy, guide. Is utility a good word? Word for shared. I mean, for knowledge. instead of Dakota. Dakota. Dakota, leave her alone. Um, hey girl, you all right? Uh, she's all wet, poor thing. Um, for knowledge-based classes. Man, I tell you, my mind just is blown. It's usually the least informative choice. Like, animation utilities. It's weak. It's a weak name. But architecturally poor. Is this math, rules, timing, easing? It's all of the above. No, it's all of the above. I think that anything is stateless would go in there. Therefore, now, because I only have a few kinds of a few functions to go in there at this time. I mean, as a temporary container, I don't know, like, no, if it is temporary temp or not. It might be. Get to 3 functions. And honestly, the answer is normal at this stage. It doesn't even know what stage I'm at. It's not to know whether the structure stays correct either way. My knowledge recommended. I don't know. Yeah. I want to stay vague, because I don't really know what kind of things I might want in the future. Renaming in the future, if necessary, will be easy as long as I do the renaming before I get to around 10 functions. You're essentially doing a control vagueness, which is totally fine. Yeah, so I do like this better. I think when to rename. Yeah, I think 10 functions. Really, I think it's typically around 4. So please start. And this is totally new for me. I've never done this before, so I'm just saying would typically start to consider renaming at around 4 functions. Dakota, leave her alone. And like, and it would be critical around 10 functions. This is a fully brand new concept for me. 1 to 3, no renaming buckets, fine. 4 to 9, start thinking about critical time to split. Yeah. Yeah, I think if you get to like 13, you have no chance. There'll be too many like gross interdependencies to break it out. But I think this is a good time to do that. So anyways, yeah, we're down one rabbit hole after another. Now I have never, this is brand new for me. I think I've got a lot of better ideas now for the future. I think that what I need to do is not have this in this mesh service. I need to have another one. Okay, so I'm curious before I log off. Um, can I does the CLI have uh, the ability to create these types of classes? Yes, the CLI can create classes, but there are a few nuances depending on what you want to break it down. Generate class animation utilities. Okay, so yeah, you would generate a class instead of a service. So basically, do not use service or injectable. Do not use, so now you probably can't hear it, but there's like the ferals are out there just meowing away right now. The feral cats, the cats that don't live in houses, they just live wild outside. All that. So, anyways, that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Is we're going to set up a class for animation service utility. We're going to pull this one function out, create animation function. Why is it named for ID? Man, okay, I'm just gonna leave it though for now. Add animation. I just got so freaking confused. Where am I? I'm in animation service. And I create animation function for ID, update mesh for animation. Okay, so this is the wrong service. So this is the thing that actually creates things. So so that might have even been the problem from the beginning. Okay, so let me hit back. Is this the same one? We're in the same function. Okay, I think I think this animation function might also be doing too much. Okay, so I'm gonna hit Control Z in here. There we go. Okay, so this needs to be moved into a utility. To be moved into a stateless utility class. And if we're being completely honest, I don't even know. See, I think that this animation service is trying to do a couple things. One is it's trying to interact directly with the DOM, right? Like it's actually like the thing that's responsible for the little twisting stuff. But at the same time, it's trying to uh, also like manage ST stuff. Uh, so yeah, so I'm gonna hit back. I have mixed feelings. I kind of want to. Um, so I think in the original Angular, like Angular 2, um, before Angular 4,
and before Angular 5, I think you could actually do this. You could actually like render your own, but I don't know if that's possible now. Maybe you can, like if you in here, you might be able to create your own. I don't know, but I think it'd be a little easier to make sense of what's going on and remember if I just create an animation service that is stateless knowledge data and not mix the stateful stuff with the stateless stuff. I think that is the round to go. And I don't know. I think that that is the right choice. It makes a lot of sense to me. It could end up being, I could be like on like the most horrendous um, anti-pattern ever where I end up breaking, literally like having to completely start from scratch again. This is very, very, very new ground for me. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. This has got to be a 2 hour video. I think these Saturday videos are going to be like long because like during the week I can only do a couple bits and then I kind of get myself into a place where I can really dive into something and this is where I'm at. Anyways, happy coding everybody. Bye.